You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances, while the township supervisor...
Good evening. An illegal appointment. That's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure out their next...
Tiffany Henyard has always been a magnetic presence, but now it seems she might be in over her head. Rumors are circulating that the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dolton is secretly negotiating with the FBI to avoid serious charges. Could this be her desperate attempt to escape the tightening grip of justice? Whispers suggest Henyard is aware her reign is nearing its end, and she's determined to take others down with her. Meanwhile, Ben Bradley continues his exclusive reporting from Dolton, peeling back the layers of this unfolding drama. Just months ago, Henyard was riding high, seen as untouchable in her dual roles as mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township. She cultivated an image of a dedicated leader determined to clean up the village. However, it seems she may have been cleaning up in a more dubious sense. As the story develops, the small village of Dolton finds itself at the heart of a scandal involving corruption, mismanagement, and betrayal. The narrative is shifting rapidly, leaving many to wonder, what will be the ultimate fallout from Henyard's actions? Only time will tell as this gripping saga unfolds.
Here now, we've been reporting on questionable spending by a South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard, but we only knew half the...
Sources close to the situation are now whispering that Tiffany Henyard has been quietly negotiating with the feds, trying to strike a deal to avoid court. The most shocking part, she may be ready to sell out her allies, those who helped her build her empire and stood by her until recently. As the walls close in, it appears Henyard's loyalty has its limits. She's willing to throw anyone under the bus if it means saving herself. The betrayal of her closest supporters could be the final twist in this unfolding drama.
It saddens my heart that you are up here at this special meeting and not downstairs where we have big bingo.
The talk of the town is that Tiffany Henyard's legal team, two high-powered criminal defense attorneys known for representing big names, is working overtime to secure her the best deal possible. But what does this mean for her inner circle? The very people who aided her in what some call one of the most audacious power grabs in local politics are now anxiously looking over their shoulders, wondering if they might be the next to face the fallout from her desperate actions.
Mr. Lacey is absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit your guilt.
Tiffany Henyard's rise to power wasn't a solo act. She had a cast of characters behind the scenes contributing to what has now become a full-blown political scandal. Take Keith Freeman, for example. Once Henyard's closest ally and trusted advisor in Thornton Township, Freeman helped her run Dolton with an iron grip. A former village administrator and registered agent of Henyard's controversial charity, he played a crucial role in maintaining control over Dolton's finances, until things took a turn and he found himself entangled in the fallout.
The way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what
Their partnership took a nosedive when Freeman was hit with federal charges for bankruptcy fraud. Henyard reportedly attempted to cut him loose, even trying to fire him during a village board meeting, but the board wasn't on board with that. Freeman's fall from grace highlights how quickly Henyard is willing to sever ties when things get messy. Now, rumors suggest Freeman might be cooperating with investigators. If that's true, it could spell disaster for Henyard and her entire operation, putting her at even greater risk.
Wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for that.
Then there's L. Lacey, the former deputy police chief of Dolton, another key player in Henyard's circle. Lacey was no stranger to controversy. He was charged with bankruptcy fraud, just like Freeman, but that didn't stop Henyard from reappointing him to lead the police department despite protests from the village trustees. Lacey's appointment was just another sign of Henyard's defiance or determination to maintain control no matter the cost. And just like Freeman, Lacey was loyal to Henyard until the feds came knocking.
And unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said,
L. Lacey is now caught in the crosshairs of the federal investigation, with some believing he could be another pawn in Henyard's game of survival. His name has surfaced in connection with questionable overtime payouts, revealing that he raked in over $200,000, despite not being eligible for that money. The timing of these payouts has raised eyebrows, leading many to speculate they were part of a larger scheme orchestrated by Henyard, with serious legal trouble looming. Lacey might now be considering striking a deal of his own to mitigate the fallout.
Township residents are paying for her.
The situation continues to escalate as Henyard's former assistant-turned-trustee, Carmen Carlisle, has emerged as a vocal critic. Once a loyal supporter of the supermayor, Carlisle has now accused Henyard of unethical behavior and predatory practices. She claims Henyard exploited her position to manipulate employees and vendors, funneling taxpayer money into personal projects and luxury expenses. For the past 2 years, Henyard has manipulated employees, vendors, and residents to increase her influence while projecting a false image of success. Carlisle stated, making a damning accusation that places her at odds with the woman who once trusted her. Carlisle's whistleblower claims go beyond vague accusations. She has provided detailed accounts of how Henyard's administration spent exorbitantly on first-class flights, 5-star hotels, and high-end dining, all at the taxpayer's expense. One trip to Austin, Texas, reportedly cost the village over $20,000, with Henyard and her entourage racking up bills at luxury hotels and steakhouses. Additionally, the $33,000 Henyard spent in a single day on Amazon purchases raises further red flags. These kinds of expenses have not only drawn criticism, but have also become central to the ongoing federal investigation into her misuse of funds.
Make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing is...
Henyard's spending habits have faced intense scrutiny for months, with village trustees repeatedly demanding transparency. The village's general fund balance plummeted from a surplus of over $5 million in 2022 to a staggering deficit of nearly $4 million by 2024, a financial collapse many attribute directly to Henyard's reckless spending. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired to investigate Henyard's financial dealings, uncovered that police costs had skyrocketed during her tenure. Some officers earned more in overtime than their base salaries. One officer reportedly made over $100,000 in overtime pay in a single fiscal year, more than double his salary, raising serious concerns about fiscal responsibility.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around.
As the feds dig deeper into Henyard's finances, many are speculating that this scandal could take down more than just the mayor. With numerous allies already facing legal trouble, it's becoming clear that this situation involves a network of individuals who have collaborated to enrich themselves at the village's expense. Reports suggest that Henyard is now prepared to point fingers at each and every one of them, if it means she can avoid prison time. This shifting dynamic could lead to a broader investigation, revealing how far the corruption runs within Dolton's political landscape.
What I think is interesting about this case, this story, is you can be highly legal and unethical at the same time.
In recent weeks, tensions between Henyard and the village board have escalated dramatically. At a board meeting, trustees voted to block her from using credit cards for unapproved purchases and imposed restrictions on spending for special events. These moves are seen as direct attempts to curb Henyard's influence and halt her lavish spending spree. However, Henyard isn't backing down. She has vetoed multiple board decisions and continues to pursue her own agenda, even as the investigation into her actions intensifies. The standoff highlights the growing divide in Dolton's leadership amid mounting scrutiny.
I have to address some things as the supervisor. There will be no comments, there will be anything, it'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on.
What about those who once supported Henyard but are now speaking out against her? Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez, who previously stood by her side, has been vocal in his disapproval of her spending habits. He criticized her for approving events that weren't even included in the township's budget, such as the infamous Taste of Thornton Township, where Henyard spent $85,000 on a mini-concert featuring Air BCER, Cake Wed, and rapper Jay Holiday. The event turned out to be a flop, with barely anyone attending, yet Henyard still paid the performers top dollar for their 30-minute sets. Gonzalez's criticism is a clear sign that the cracks in Henyard's support system are widening.
The Lansing Journal, trustee Chris Gonzalez said,
Or the administration can adhere to some financial limits. We're not looking to necessarily...
As rumors of Tiffany Henyard's potential deal with the FBI swirl, the pressing question on everyone's mind is who will take the fall with her. If she decides to sell out her allies, it could spell the end of their careers and possibly their freedom. Will Keith Freeman, Elle Lacey, and Carmen Carlisle be dragged down alongside her, or will they cut their own deals to avoid prison time? The clock is ticking, And as more details about Henyard's secret negotiations emerge, it's clear this story is far from over. One thing is certain. Henyard's days of ruling Dolton with an iron fist are numbered. The only question now is who will go down with her. To understand how Henyard ended up in this mess, we need to take a step back. Her downfall didn't happen overnight, though it certainly feels like it's spiraling out of control now. Her time in office has been marked by scandal after scandal, but nothing compares to the level of corruption and chaos she has unleashed on the village. Henyard's so-called super mayor image was built on promises to clean up Dolton, yet it quickly became evident that she wasn't cleaning up the village, she was cleaning out its bank accounts. Residents who once believed in her vision of a better Dolton are now watching their town crumble, both financially and morally. It's no wonder she has earned the nickname Dolton Dictator. The evidence of her misconduct is everywhere, starting with the misuse of funds. Henyard wasn't just careless, she was reckless. From the moment she took office, she treated the village's budget like her personal credit card, splurging thousands on lavish trips, high-end restaurants, and luxury hotels. This reckless spending set the stage for the disaster that followed, creating a financial crisis that has left the community reeling.
That's right, John and Terrence. Tonight's meeting had a much different tone than what we've experienced previously at Dolton City Council meetings. Now, the room was full of Henyard supporters, and they wanted me to be sure to tell you that they applauded for her several times as she talked about the township being in a great place financially. Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Remember that trip to Austin, Texas? It wasn't just a quick getaway. Henyard and her entourage spent over $20,000 on a 5-day stay, with more than $11,000 at the upscale Fairmont Austin Hotel. This was just one example of similar indulgences reported on other taxpayer-funded excursions to cities like New York, Atlanta, and Portland. Village trustees attempted to rein in her spending, but Henyard vetoed their efforts to investigate. During just 5 months, she racked up over $67,000 in travel expenses, further fueling concerns about her financial management.
Administration is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
It wasn't just the travel expenses. There was also the astonishing $33,000 Henyard blew on Amazon in a single day. Let that sink in. $33,000 with no clear records explaining what the money was spent on. It's no wonder the village's finances plummeted under her leadership. By the time former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was brought in to conduct an independent investigation, Dolton was already in serious financial trouble. Lightfoot's preliminary report revealed that the village's general fund had dropped from a healthy $5 million surplus to a staggering $3.5 million deficit, highlighting the extent of the mismanagement.
Staffers also distributed a breakdown of the township's finances from 2017 to current, where Henyard's team says years ago they were in a deficit of more than $2 million. And now, today, under her administration, her team says there's a surplus of more than $6 million.
What's even more alarming is how Henyard's administration handled overtime pay for the police department. Under her watch, 2 officers earned more in overtime than their base salaries, with one officer raking in over $100,000 in overtime alone. This is particularly striking for a village with a population of just over 20,000. What could possibly justify such spending? Financial mismanagement is only part of the story. Henyard's behavior throughout her time in office has been nothing short of outrageous. From the very beginning, it was clear she wasn't playing by the rules. Instead, she was making her own, raising serious concerns about her leadership.
They'll turn up more and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
I would be nervous.
Henyard has been accused of using her power to intimidate and retaliate against her opponents, silencing critics and consolidating control over Dolton and Thornton Township. One of the most notorious examples of her bullying tactics occurred when she ordered her personal police detail to follow residents who dared to speak out against her. This security force, funded by the very taxpayers she was draining, became an extension of her power. Former Dolton Police Chief Robert Collins even expressed how Henyard's constant demands for a large security detail hampered the department's ability to effectively combat crime, further highlighting her troubling leadership.
Not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
What is that?
No.
Instead of having officers patrolling the streets, they were following Henyard around, acting as her personal bodyguards. We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime, Collins said, but instead they were riding around protecting the mayor. Henyard's heavy-handed approach didn't stop there. She also found ways to retaliate against her political enemies. Take the case of Valeria Stubbs, a former trustee and vocal critic of Henyard. Stubbs' home was shot up in the middle of the night. Although no one was harmed, Stubbs has repeatedly suggested that the attack was an act of intimidation orchestrated by Henyard.
Says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dolton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my papers.
He's faced harassment at his business, raided and shut down by Dolton police, which he believes is a consequence of refusing to donate to a civic event sponsored by Mayor Tiffany Henyard. I talked to a couple of agents and explained what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork, he said. While there's no concrete evidence linking Henyard to the shooting incident, it certainly adds to the growing list of allegations against her. Henyard's behavior has become increasingly brazen. She even filmed herself shoveling snow from Stubbs' driveway during a snowstorm, referring to Stubbs as her hater in a bizarre attempt to taunt her. This shocking move surprised many, but for those familiar with Henyard's antics, it was just another day in Dolton. The misuse of taxpayer dollars, manipulation of village resources, and abuse of power all point to a woman who believed she was untouchable. For a time, it seemed she was. But now, with the FBI breathing down her neck, Henyard's empire is crumbling, leaving the future of Dolton uncertain.
Been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges.
We've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Tiffany Henyard in her roles as Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. Now, multiple sources indicate that federal agents are interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may lead to charges. The federal subpoenas served to Dolton and Thornton Township clearly show that the feds aren't just sniffing around, they're closing in. These subpoenas reportedly seek records related to everything from the village's finances to Henyard's political fund and even her cancer charity, the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. This charity, intended to support cancer patients, is also mired in controversy. Not only has the foundation failed to file the required financial disclosures with the state, but it also received a $10,000 donation from Thornton Township on the very day it was chartered. This raises further questions about the foundation's operations and Henyard's financial dealings, adding yet another layer to the growing scandal surrounding her leadership.
Offered to our seniors, and they told us, your card doesn't work.
And I stand in the fight because I want the boys and girls of the next generation to see what it looks like to come out of controversy and to come out of all the hatred unscathed. At the end of the day, God gives the test to his strongest soul.
Documents reveal that much of the foundation's expenses were charged to the village's credit card, with over $1,000 spent on hotels, meals, photographers, and even DJs. These revelations have raised questions about whether the foundation was truly about charity or merely another vehicle for Henyard to funnel money into her personal projects. As her legal troubles continue to mount, it's increasingly clear that Henyard's time is running out, leaving her future, and that of the village, hanging in the balance.
All I can tell you is that I'm not the one on anything. That's the only thing I can tell you right now. So I'm just trying to answer to the...
So you're saying there's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you?
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Rumors of Henyard's potential deal with the FBI seem more plausible with each passing day, especially given how much she stands to lose if convicted of the charges she faces. Henyard could be looking at serious prison time, which is why many believe she's ready to cut her losses and turn on her allies. But will her deal be enough to save her? More importantly, what will it mean for the rest of her inner circle? It's hard to imagine Henyard walking away from this without taking a few people down with her.
She did to receive the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993, and she's the best we ever had.
You know, you're doing a lot of programs, good programs for the, the senior citizens, and you're doing a lot of programs for, people who are on a fixed budget. But what about the people, the blue-collar people who are still carrying this,
There's already speculation that Keith Freeman, Henyard's former right-hand man, has been cooperating with the feds for months. If that's true, Henyard may not have as much leverage as she thinks. Freeman's involvement in the village's financial mismanagement is well documented, but he's not the only one in Henyard's circle facing trouble. L. Lacey, the former deputy police chief, is another key figure who could find himself in the hot seat. His role in the overtime pay scandal has already raised red flags, and now that he's facing federal charges for bankruptcy fraud, it's only a matter of time before the feds start asking questions about his relationship with Henyard.
That I was young, dumb, didn't know nothing, was gonna let y'all come and manipulate me. I didn't do any of that. So because I didn't do any of that, you guys started this whole smear campaign.
If Freeman decides to flip and testify against Henyard, it could be the final nail in her coffin. Then there's Carmen Carlisle, the former ally turned whistleblower. Her decision to speak out against Henyard has already shaken up the local political scene. But if she has more incriminating evidence, she could become a valuable asset to the federal investigation.
Know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
Carlisle's claims of unethical behavior and manipulation within the Henyard administration are damning. Her insider knowledge of how things operated behind the scenes could provide the feds with crucial evidence to bring Henyard down. As the investigation unfolds, it's clear that this isn't just about Tiffany Henyard anymore. It's about a web of corruption that has engulfed an entire village, leaving its residents bankrupt and disillusioned. The people of Dolton trusted Henyard to lead them, but instead, she guided them into financial ruin.
Reached out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dolton have received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI or any other law enforcement agency.
As the FBI closes in, the question remains, how many more secrets will come to light before this saga is over? While rumors of Henyard's secret deal continue to swirl, one thing is certain, this isn't the last we've heard of Dolton's supermayor. Whether she cuts a deal or goes down fighting, Tiffany Henyard's reign is coming to an end, and she won't walk away unscathed. The only question left is, who will be the next to fall? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this ongoing saga.